Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing great and wonderful on this day. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video here. This video that I'll be talking about was supposed to be included in my last video that I uploaded, which was about me learning about Godot for the past 7 months that I've been using it. It was supposed to be included in that video, but since that video was getting super long, I decided to cut out from that video and make it its own video instead. So this is what this is, and in this video I'll be talking about animation trees, mostly about advanced expressions, just because I haven't really seen much of that in here when I was learning how to use it. I didn't see much tutorials or anything about it. If anything, if there was a video out there, it was super short and they didn't really talk about it that much. So I wanted to make a video on that, and hopefully it's something that you guys learn from it as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed this content and you would like to see more of this, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, if you guys love to join me on this journey on me teaching you things that I've learned, and maybe you learn something from it, or you would like to join me on this journey on making video games that I'll be posting on this channel, and other stuff that I'll be here that you guys will be interested in watching. So feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification as well. So let's get this started. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is animation trees. I've kind of been using it for quite a while now, and I just wanted to talk to you guys how I'm using it, and maybe you learn something from it as well. So you got two different ways to do animations when it comes to 2D. You got the animation player, which includes all the animation keyframes and all of that for the different animations that you have in your game. Then this is where the animations will happen. And then you have an animation tree, and this is where you hook up all of those animations that are in here that you create from your animation player. So the animation tree will need an animation player that you will hook up in here in your inspector. And then when you create this animation tree, I'm using the animation node blend tree. There's different options that you have in here that you can use your animation tree as. So it depends on your project. I usually come when you start using the blend tree because it just makes it similar, makes it easy for me, and it's kind of similar to how Unreal does it. So that's probably the reason why I'm using that one. So you have all of these different types of nodes that you have in here, and it has the output. The output is basically the last and the basic animation that you're going to be using, the final animation. So it will go through all of these other state machines that they're calling in here, similar to how Unreal does it. It calls it the same thing as state machines. And I got used to the syntax or the naming convention when it comes to locomotion and all of that kind of stuff. So on my moving, like base move, like idle and walking and running is in my base locomotion. I have my actions that are in here. So you can open the editor and you can see all these different blend trees that you have in here. You can either have a state machine, or you can have blend trees or blend spaces in here, either in 1D or 2Ds. Right now these are state machines because if I were to go in here, it will have individual blend spaces in here. So all of this stuff that's in here are 2D blend spaces, which then you can hook up all your animations that you created in your animation player. So if I were to click on one of them, you can see that it's using one of the animations that I created on animation player, and this gives you a direction of what animations you should be using. The leftmost point that's on here is going to be when the character is facing on the left. The point that's on top in here is when it's facing front towards the camera. And down here, down below, it's negative, and that's just basically when it's looking to the screen, or looking top above, or just looking up. So when it's looking up, and this is the top one is when it's looking down. So it's kind of like opposite a little bit, at least it feels that way. The one on the right, as you guessed it, is when the player is looking to the right. So you make sure that you hook up those animations accordingly when it comes in here. And that's how blend spaces work. So let's go back to, this is where all my fishing blend spaces are for precast, cast, hooked, and uncast. And then you have all the animation states, all the action state machines in here. So if you were fishing, or if you were using the watering can or the hoe or whatever, that's where all this stuff is happening here for those animations. And then you have, in my case, I have two other ones where you have a state where you're holding an item at the same time, which is basically similar to how base locomotion works, where you're walking, all of that. But in this case, or in this sense, you were you're holding item in front of you, like let's say you were holding a torch, and it will change the animation to use that logic instead. It will change the animation to use that new animations instead. It's very similar to the base locomotion. And then you have an attack sequence or an attack locomotion here where you're going to be attacking in my game since there's combat. So what you would do here, I do 2 different blends in here. One blend is basically to blend these 2 together, and depending on what state I am in, it will change this value down below. If it's 0, it will use the top animation, or if it's 1, it will use the action locomotion instead. So this is how I determine which state machines to use, and the same thing down here. But in this case, this is a blend 3, so you blends 3 different things here. So if it's -1, it will use the output of this blend that's on top. If it's 0, it will use this state, or if it's 1, it will use this other state. So that's how I'm blending these 3 together, and depending on the state that is on here, if it's 0, 1, or -1, it will then set it to the output, and that's the way you're going to be seeing it in the game. So that's how I'm using the state machines in here to determine the states on these. Let's open my idle walk and run right now. As you were seeing when I was talking previously, you will see all these arrows that are happening here. All of these arrows determine when to transition to the other BlendSpaces or state machines. So initially it will start with the idle, and depending on the actions that you're doing with the player, let's say it starts walking, you will click this arrow here, and in advance there's 2 different ways that you can do this. One is to use a condition here, but the problem with that is that if you wanted to revert back, you would need to create a different one. So for example, if I were like, hey, let's say to walk, if this condition is set to walk, it will then go to walk. But in here, you cannot say not walk or equals false. You will have to create a brand new variable or condition string called, let's say I wanted to call it back to idle, and it became kind of crazy in code when I started doing this, just because there's so many conditions and different states that you need to use when it comes to that. So I advise you to not use this unless you don't have that many animations in here. So the solution I went with is the expressions, and there isn't that much tutorials on what this actually means, at least not that I was able to see. Eventually over time I ended up figuring out what it was and how to use it. So in here, what's cool about this is basically this is kind of like a boolean in here. Unlike this top condition, is this is supposed to be a string. So what's cool about this, you could consider this variable to be a boolean, right? So you have this. So if I'm an idle and this is moving set to true, it will then go to walk. Otherwise, if it goes back here, if it's not moving, so you this exclamation point in front of it, that makes it so it's false. So if this moving is false, it will then go into idle, and that's all it's doing right now. The same thing when it comes to run, you have is running, or if it's not moving, you'll go back to idle, or you have this condition here where you can have 2 different stuff. You cannot do that in condition. And then you have this expression here where you say, hey, it will only if it's running, it will only go to walk if it's not running, but it's still moving. That's what's cool about this. And how you set this up in animation tree, you have this advanced expression base node. This base node is what this expression is going to be using and looking it up where these variables are located. So in my case, my base node is itself, and this animation tree has its own GD script. And in here, you have these variables in here. So as you saw earlier, you have this is moving, is running, and if I go back into this, my BlendSpaces, you can say, hey, it's moving, which is on top, and it's not moving, which is the same variable that I'm using, just if it's false. And you have is running, and you have that in there as well. It will constantly be checking these variables, and if these variables at any time changes to either true or false, it will then start updating the state of the BlendSpaces down below. And that's actually pretty cool. That's what I like about it. So just make sure, if you were to do this way, make sure you set that advanced expression base node to be itself. So you just keep that in mind. And that's basically what I want to talk to you guys about, animation trees and how I'm using it in here. So I hope you guys learned something about it. And there you have it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's anything that I missed about animation trees, or there's something that you want to know, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would definitely love to be able to read what you guys have, and if I'm able to answer it either to a comment or maybe I'll make another video in the future, I will do that. So feel free to let me know if there's anything that I did wrong or if there's anything that I can improve on in this video that I showed. There were some parts where I can improve on. Feel free to also let me know. Other than that, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to see more of these types of videos in the future besides just devlogs, but you want to learn stuff as well about Godot or Unity or Unreal, feel free to let me know in the comments. Definitely love to see what you guys have, and maybe I can do a video on those as well in the future. If you guys are interested in that, feel free to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel for future videos, and either for me making video games, including my current indie game that I'm working on called Edenville, or any other future games, either in Unity, Unreal, or Godot. Feel free to follow and subscribe on my channel and follow on my journey here. I appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I know in the last video I mentioned that this video was supposed to be my devlog, but I still need a little bit more time on that. I'm still working on it, and I got some updates that I've been doing lately. Just that it isn't enough to show in a video, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully maybe it will be the next video, but just know that I'm still working on it. So but anyways guys, I'm gonna call it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Any outs.